Folks, the Cheese Works has come out to Holt, Missouri, and we're out here at the Country Meadows Beauty Salon. I think Jason Ryan here, we're going to get our hair and our nails later. But anyway, we're in Holt, Missouri, and we're out here doing the shop talk tonight, talking to Jason Ryan. Jason, you started up at Winston Speedway, and you kind of started in an unusual class up there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what this was, how you got started up there?
Yeah, these were they were called 750 modifieds when I first started. And they were actually more or less just like a Legends car, motorcycle engines. And we were helping the cousin up there, and they brought them up one night for a demo run, and we thought it looked pretty interesting, so we found one, me and my dad, and we got started with one of those, ran those for a couple years, and realized I wasn't a motorcycle mechanic, so it was time to move on to the street stock division. Okay,
still talking about up at Winston. You know, Larry Castor was a promoter up there, probably the guy that brought East Coast Modifieds, as they were called then, modified racing to Kansas City. But Larry Castor was running Winston at that time, and I know when we were talking the other day, you were telling me a little bit about some of the rules that were going on up there and how they differ from now. Tell us just a little bit about like some of the engine rules and stuff like that.
The rules were pretty much run what you brung. The only thing they really checked, I would say, was for a mini clutch. So there was a lot of big motors. You could run any carburetor you wanted, and they were the IMCA tires, though. And it was a horsepower thing back then. It was how big is your wallet, you know?
Right.
So I think our first motor we started with was a 408.
Oh wow, gosh!
So that was the start of my career up there at Winston in the street stock division.
Okay. Still talking about Winston, 2005 Grand National Champion up there. What was that like? What were some of the competitors you had to run with?
Yeah, that was a very interesting year. We had was racing with Brent Owens and Select Design Homes, and we ran at Lakeside the year before, and kind of got our foot in the door there with the Grand National, and we was trying to run both nights the second year, but we decided to stick to a Saturday night at Winston, and we ran really well up there, and it just halfway through the season we realized that we were up there in points, and I think we was holding the lead pretty much all year, and just hung in there all year long. We raced with Steve McDowell, I believe, took second in points, and Scotty Martin was running up there.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Gene Claxton was still coming up there and racing with us. He wouldn't be there every week, but he'd come up and take our money every once in a while. But he's a very good racer. So when you were there, he was the man to beat when he was there.
Savannah, Osborne, Winston. Now you've run at a lot of these small tracks, which basically are up north. But how would you compare them as far as running at Lakeside? Is that a good proving ground for a driver to start on a small track like that before they do come out to Lakeside and try to compete there?
I think so. It's a very good learning experience, you know, with the tight turns and the straightaway speed you pick up, and I think it really helped me, because when I went to Lakeside, I was almost having to turn twice the first time around the track because the turns were so long. But yeah, I think it makes you a better driver. It's a good starting point, and when you go to these bigger tracks, it's a little bit easier to race on.
Can you give us just a little idea? I know you're running in the street stocks, or factory stocks, we call them at Lakeside, but give me just a little idea of the difference between a street stock and a factory stock.
Like, say, for instance, your street stocks, or the IMCA cars at Winston, I think they pretty much got unlimited horsepower. I mean, they're restricted on their carburetor, but they do run some pretty big motors. And to where at Lakeside, you know, we're toned down to, you know, a smaller motor, you know, not so much compression and stuff like that. But yeah, there's quite a bit of a difference there, but their carburetor rules are a little bit different than ours. They're on a 2-barrel where we have the option to run a 4-barrel. So
okay. So sounds like pretty much what you're talking about then's in the motor. That's the big difference.
Yeah, pretty much. They got
maybe tires.
Rule. Yeah, their tires are a little bit different. I think they're on the Hoosier. We would like to run up there a little bit, but with the tire change difference, you know, it's just the cost of it wouldn't be worth it for us to have another set of tires.
Okay, let's get down to Lakeside. Man, last year in that Oktoberfest, surprise, surprise, Jason Ryan comes out and wins 2 of those features at Lakeside. Were you surprised by that?
I'm still surprised about that. We when JD said that we could run the headers and the beadlock for, of course, the rules this year. So we got us a set of headers and went out there, and we debated about it, whether we were going to spend the money and do it, because we knew it would be some tough competition, you know, other tracks and big motors. And we thought, well, if we can just go out there and make the show and maybe get a top 10, we'd be pretty happy. And when that night was over with, I couldn't believe it. I don't think I slept all night long, so I couldn't wait till next Saturday night.
It was, I think, probably one of the most interesting experiments that has taken place in Kansas City. And of course, there's several tracks this year that have followed through that are going to be running in October. But boy, something that I've always wanted to see in or around Kansas City is if we could have like a race of champions, so to speak, where actually they could race at maybe 2 or 3 different tracks, take the top 5 into points from different tracks and put them all together. That's not exactly happening at Lakeside, but it is a bunch of guys from different tracks coming together and running pretty much under that track's rules. So I think it's been a really good experiment, and man, you really benefited from it.
Yes, we did. I think this year might be a little tougher. Those guys kind of got the feeling of the track out there. So I think this winter, they probably did their homework. They're gonna be ready for us this year, I'm sure. Okay,
right now at Lakeside, you're 4th in the points out there. Probably for this year, that's where Jason Ryan's going to be, 4th in the points.
Yeah, I would say so. We got some tough guys ahead of us, and they've had, you know, really good year. I congratulate Buzz Caster on his championship. He deserves it. He's a good guy to win it, and of course Bear and Mike Taylor's in front of us. But really good guys to race with. You know, we park next to them in the pits. Just super nice guys, and yeah, we're pretty much looking at the 4th position in points. So we'll try to get them next year.
Okay, that was my next question. You're getting ahead of me almost. What about for Jason Ryan for next year? Is it going to be street stocks again, man, with this wealth of experience that you've got behind you? Going to stay in the street stocks or factory stocks?
Yeah, we're going to stay there. That's what we can afford to run, and we have fun doing it. And when you're not having fun, it's, you know, it takes the sport away from it. So we go out every Friday night with a smile on our face, can't wait to get there. And no matter what happens, we're usually happy when we leave. And we're going to stick in the street stock division next year with factory stocks, and we're gonna change the color scheme though. So we're going to leave that up in there and let kind of surprise everybody next year.
Man, that always fools me when you guys do that. I get used to seeing these cars same color, and then when you come out with something new the next year, why, it always throws me off for a while. We're kind of winding down on time. Who is responsible or behind Jason Ryan as far as racing? Who really makes this happen for Jason?
Well, the first person I want to thank is Chuck Littrell. He's the owner of the car. We built this car last year. We started on it. It took us over, you know, we just took our time to get it ready, and I think we made it out in mid-July last year. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be here every week. So it makes it a lot of fun.
Just interject something real quick. What did this car start out at or as, and what is it?
It's a 78 Buick Regal is what we started with, and we pretty much gutted it, and Bob Snow put a cage in it for us, and we pretty much did everything else.
What about the motor? Who's building the motors? That'd
be Ray Littrell of Fast Lane Engines. He's got a good program going over on these factory stocks. He's done his homework, and we got a good motor under the hood. So.
Okay, I interrupted you on the guys behind the car besides Chuck. Sponsors, anybody like that you want to mention?
Yeah, I want to thank Vans Fence, RMAC Contracting, VP Forklifts, Wren Farms.
Hey, I know them Wren Farms.
Yeah, they're good people. So.
You know, my wife grew up out in Birmingham, and that's where Wren Farms is located, out there in Birmingham. And boys, I don't want to call it a trucking operation, but it's just a large farming area that they do out there. Yeah,
I grew up down there next to them, so I've known them my whole life. And I also want to thank Country Metal Beauty Supply or Shop, and all my friends and family, and all the fans in the stands.
Okay. Folks, I think that's just about going to wrap it up from Holt, Missouri. Here we got Jason Ryan, another one of those guys that, you know, in the back pocket, man, they're checking that thing all the time, seeing what kind of money they got, because this racing sure isn't a cheap deal. But Jason Ryan out there trying with L&N Racing.
L&R Racing.
L&R Racing. But that's going to wrap it up from Holt, Missouri for Shop Talk.